Hello, students. In today's class, we will learn about modal verbs. Shall we start? Yeah, we probably should. So, can you tell me something about modal verbs? Sure. What would you like to know? I must know everything about them. That might take a long time. You'll help me though, right? Of course, even though it may be challenging. So there are some modal verbs in English which you just now heard some examples of modal verbs. Now, what are modal verbs? Why do we need them? What is their function? So in today's class, we are going to learn about modal verbs. Modal verbs are like can, could, may, might, will, would, shall, should, must. What do they do? And how are they different from other verbs? And why are they so important? Modal verbs add information to other verbs. That's their job. They can add ideas like possibility, uncertainty, or obligation to another word. Grammatically, modal verbs follow their own rules. A modal verb is followed by an infinitive to. For example, she can speak fluent in English. We shouldn't do anything until we know more. They won't be here before 10. You can't put a noun after a modal verb or an ing verb or anything else, only an. Infinitive verb without to. Modal verbs can be used in different times or tenses. They don't have past, perfect, or future tenses like regular verbs do. There are some cases where this isn't 100% true. Like, for example, could is the past tense of can in some cases. Would sometimes acts like a past version of will. However, could can also have a present or future meaning. Modal verbs are auxiliary verbs. That means you make negatives by adding not to end of the verb. Like for example, can, can't, would, wouldn't, might not. So negative modal verbs are often contracted, although might not and may not. They are usually written fully without contractions. For will and shall, the spelling changes in the negative will, won't, shall, shan't. To make a question, move the modal verb before the subject. For example, should I tell him what would you do? So modal verbs can express many basic concepts which we will need regularly in any situation. They are used to express obligations, give advice, talk about possibility and probability, ask for permission, and more. Can I ask you something? Sure. I am thinking I might ask for a transfer to the Singapore office. I've always wanted to live abroad, and now I think, I think now's the right time. What do you think? I think if you've thought about it, then you should try it. Better to regret something you did than something you didn't. That's my view. Hmm. So, what did you all notice? See, I have used so many modals in my conversation here. Now, just look at the usage of different modals. This mind map will give you a very clear explanation of uses of modals in different times. Look at the example of will and must. Both are used for certainty. May and might for possibility. Can, could for doubt. Can't, couldn't, won't, impossibility. Will for acceptance. Will for determination. Will for desire. Will for prediction. Obligation, must or have to. Ought to is moral, duty, advice. Should is again advice. So try to study this mind map carefully, which will give you a very good understanding of modals used at different times. Now, these are some examples of can. Ability to do something. STH stands for something. In the present, I can speak English. Can I go to the cinema? Is again a permission. Request, can you wait a moment, please? I can lend you my car till tomorrow. It's an offer. Can we visit grandma at the weekend? Suggestion. It can get very hot in Arizona. A pause. Now with good. I could speak English. I could go to the cinema. Could I go to the cinema, please? Could you wait a moment, please? I could lend you my car till tomorrow. So everywhere you'll find politeness with could. Possibility, it could get very hot in Montana. See the examples of may and might. May, possibility. It may rain today. It might rain today is less possible than may. Permission to do something. May I go to the cinema? Polite suggestion. May I help you? Hesitant offer. Might I help you? Must and mustn't or may not. I must go to the supermarket today. Force, necessity, you're falling short of grocery. You must be tired. Possibility, after a hard day's work, you are tired. You must see the new film with Brad Pitt. It's an advice. You mustn't work on dad's computer. You may not work on dad's computer. So both may and must, or mustn't and may not, suggest prohibition. Needn't. Again, something is not necessary. I needn't go to the supermarket. We're going to the restaurant tonight. Ought to. Sounds a little less subjective. You ought to drive carefully in bad weather. You ought to switch off the light when you leave the room. Shall I carry your bag? Suggestion. You should drive carefully in bad weather. You should switch off the light when you leave the room. Dare can be used both as a modal auxiliary verb as well as main verb. Therefore, it is known as semi-modal verb. I dare not take such a drastic step. He will not dare to resign from the job. Now remember the usage of can as informal. Can I borrow your pen for a minute? And when you want to be polite, could I have a glass of water? If you're formal, may I ask a question, please? Again, polite. Would you mind if I asked you something? I hope you have understood the usage of modals. Again, these are some examples here. How to use different types of modal verbs. So, by all of you, I want you all to attempt now the exercises. By then.